quand il était bien portant, que il y avait
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Could you please, particularly the speakers, could you please show up your camera and also say hello so we can test the video, the audio as well. Thank you. Karima? David? Could you please show, turn on your camera? So Karen, it seems that we are waiting for Grace, Elvis, Michael, and also Dorothy.
Yes, Grace said that she's going to join at 12 p.m.
Okay.
And I'm still waiting for Dorothy and Elvis. I'm gonna send a reminder.
Yeah, maybe send them the link again to make sure they are here. Thank you. Hi, Professor Kindu. Can you unmute yourself? Could you unmute yourself? I couldn't hear you. Yeah.
Bonjour.
Great. Bonjour, ça va?
Oui, ça va bien, oui.
Oui, moi, ça va pas très bien. Je pris un rhume hier. Je me sens pas bien, mais ça va. Est-ce que tu vas présenter en français ou anglais?
Je vais présenter en français, mais j'ai un diaporama en anglais que je pourrais partager.
D'accord. Est-ce que tu as besoin, Karen, donner traduction sur le chat, C'est nécessaire ou pas? Je ne peux pas vous attendre.
Son micro n'est pas activé.
Ah, d'accord. Donc, tu as une présentation, un PPT en anglais?
En anglais, oui.
Ah, d'accord. Dans ce cas, je pense qu'il n'y a pas besoin pour Karen faire une traduction.
Simultanée.
Oui. Mais professeur Kendo, est-ce que tu peux essayer partager votre écran par PPT, donc on peut savoir si ça marche.
Oui, je vais essayer.
D'accord.
Bonjour, vous m'entendez?
Oui, bonjour. C'est qui?
Je m'appelle Muriel, je suis en charge de la partie technique de la session.
Ah, d'accord. Bonjour. Vous
Donc,
appelez comment?
Muriel.
Ah, Muriel, enchantée, je suis Xian Hong de l'UNESCO. Je suis organisateur. Merci beaucoup. Ah, c'est bien, c'est parfait.
Voilà. Donc, s'il y a d'autres panélistes, donnez-moi les noms. Là, je les mets en même temps co-animateurs. Ainsi, ils pourront partager leur écran sans problème.
Oui, très bien. Très bien. Donc, professeur, oui, vous pouvez fermer. Oui, en fait, on vous déjà envoyé le programme. Donc, maintenant, sur la liste participants, vous voyez, on a pénaliste professeur Alain Kindou.
C'est bon.
On a David Souter.
David Guter, un instant.
Oui, Grace Jitanga.
OK.
Karen Landa, elle est online modérateur aussi. Et Karima, ouais, Mahmoudi, ouais. Et on attend deux pénalistes. Une est Elvis Michael Camo. Il
Un
n'est pas
instant.
là.
Est-ce que vous pouvez me mettre les noms dans le chat?
D'accord.
Voilà, ça, ce sera plus facile pour moi.
Je viens de mettre les noms dans le chat, Muriel.
OK,
Ah oui,
je regarde.
oui, merci Karen, c'est déjà fait.
Ah, d'accord. OK, donc je vais les mettre co-animateurs. Ce sera plus simple, comme ça, ils pourront directement partager les écrans.
Oui, tout à fait.
OK. Vous avez besoin
pas tout, mais je peux que voir la liste de participants, c'est tout. Parce que j'ai vu, il y a 26 participants enregistrés sur le site web. Je ne peux pas tout voir ici.
tout voir, d'accord. Je vais vous passer animateur, vous principalement, comme ça vous aurez le même retour que moi j'ai et vous pourrez voir toutes les statistiques.
Vous pouvez, OK. And Karima, ça va?
Bonjour, ça va, vous allez bien?
Oui, je vais très bien, mais votre visage, ça semble un peu noir. Est-ce qu'il
parce
a
que j'ai la lumière derrière moi.
D'accord, ok.
Pas de souci, je vais changer de place. Juste, j'ai voulu savoir, est-ce que je peux partager l'écran parce que j'ai une présentation à faire?
Oui, tout à fait. Tu peux partager votre écran. Donc, vous avez un PPT, présentation?
Oui, sur le cadre,
bien.
En fait, sur l'assessment, c'est le cas tunisien.
Oui, c'est ça.
Avec la méthodologie et les principales conclusions.
Tu peux essayer maintenant. Tu juste taper share screen. Oui, tu juste essayer.
Alors, c'est celle-là. Oui, c'est bon? Vous le voyez?
Attends. Oui, c'est bon. Vous pouvez fermer maintenant. Oui, c'est très bien. Donc, vous allez parler en anglais?
Yes, I will give my presentation in English.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
But I didn't know how to
take the back, right?
Yes.
Can you? I think there's a button saying you can stop your screen sharing. Have you found it?
No, just 1 minute, please.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yes, it's okay.
Okay, great. Yeah. So who else has a PPT to try? Hi, Grace.
Hi.
Hi. Could you please take on your camera? Great, good to see you. We'll just take some screenshot at the beginning. And hi, so Grace, are you going to talk or you will also present a PPT?
No, I will talk.
Okay, good. And David, how are you? I'm also going to share my screen. I will present with David shortly at the beginning on the overview of the project. So my panelists, are you okay with the speaking order? So the first will be the Karima. Second will be Grace. And then I hope my colleague Elvis can show up. Otherwise, it will be Professor Kindu, and then to be Dorothy. But why Dorothy is still not yet connected? Yeah, hi, Dorothy.
How are you?
I'm fine. I'm just getting a little bit cold, but I think my voice is okay.
I know I'm speaking about number 4, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, you are okay. First, it will be David Suter and me a presentation, and then to be Tunisia, Grace and Elvis and Alan. You will be number 6. You'll be the last speaker, but not the least. Are you okay with it?
Am I the last speaker?
Yes, you are.
Excellent. I love being the last speaker.
Okay, you know, that's the most challenging position to talk at the
no,
last.
You don't have to say anything. You just have to reiterate all the good points. What can I ask you? How long is this session, please?
Okay, it's only 1 hour and a half. We are about to start now. From now, it's CET time. It's 12 to 1:30. So it's 90 minutes.
Okay.
So I would suggest
I am going to go away and come onto my larger computer.
Okay. Okay, take your time. And we are starting. And also, Michael, could you please show up your face? I saw my second speaker also joined. Hi, Michael. Could you please unmute yourself?
Hello.
Hi, Michael. Happy
Yes,
to see you. Happy to see you. Last time you didn't able to make it for the IGF.
Yes, I'm actually at the office, so.
Okay, that's brilliant.
Yeah, it's better at the office.
Okay, so you'll be the third speaker to present the project from Senegal. I hope are you okay with it?
I'm not getting you very well. It's breaking up.
I'm saying that are you okay with the speaking order? So you will be the third speaker following Karima and Grace. You are still not able to hear me?
No, I'm not.
I see there are a number of participants already in the room.
Yeah,
let me switch off the video if I can hear you better. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Michael, I'm just checking with you. Are you okay with your speaking order? You will be the third one to talk after Karima and Grace.
Yeah, I think I'm the third one to
yes,
speak.
yes.
Right?
Do you have a PPT?
Yes.
Okay.
I want to know if I can share my screen.
Yeah,
Let me try this.
Please try it now. So we quickly check.
Yes, I can share a little bit.
Just share your screen.
Do you see my screen?
Not yet. Try again.
Okay, share screen.
Still not succeed? Normally, you just click the share screen and then you can drag your.
Yeah, I think wait.
Maybe because I already share my screen.
Probably, I don't know why it's doing like this.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe let me share. Let me try to share mine to see if it worked. Have you seen my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then if I stop share, there's a red button and you couldn't see it. So Michael, do you like to try again?
Okay. Let me try again.
Yeah, I see it's connecting to something. Yeah, oh, no. How about that? Could you send your PPT to me and Karen, so I make sure Karen can share it on the screen while you talk? Okay. Hi, Michael, are you still trying?
Yeah.
I suggest that to be safe, could you just send your PPT to me and Karen, so we will be able to show it while you talk.
Right away.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, let me do it right away. I think
yeah. Copy Karen, please. Okay, so I suggest we should start now. Good morning and good noon and good afternoon, everyone. I'm sharing my screen. My name is Xian Hong, representing UNESCO. I'd first like to thank the African IGF Secretariat to be able to accommodate such an urgent request in such short time. And also I'd like to thank the IGF MAG Chair, Henriette, for her brilliant suggestion after her participation in the IGF session of IUI just in 1 week before. Sorry for my voice, I just got a cold, but luckily the virus won't transmit through the internet. It's really such a crisis moment that we are witnessing for the past year. It's once again, the pandemic shows the high relevance, crucialness of the internet. Without the internet, basically the society would collapse even further. That's why UNESCO has been promoting Internet Universality principles, which is again show its relevance and pertinence to the national development and safety. What is UNESCO's Internet Universality principles? It's very simple. It simply means the 4 pillar principles: human rights-based, open internet, access by all, and also driven by multi-stakeholder participants. We have been endorsed this principle since 2025, and then we have developed 303 indicators to measure to what extent the national actors, ranging from governments to companies to civil society, how they are adhering to these 4 principles, how those international standards are being implemented at national level. Then we can identify the gaps and provide the policy recommendations and identify the interventions to improve the internet policy and development. As this slide shows that this indicator has been endorsed by UNESCO institutions called the International Program for the Development of Communication, and also Internet Information for All program. For that, we have the IFF chair, Doris, is on board. We are really joining all the forces to implement these principles and indicator at the national level. So far, we have already having 21 countries progressing in this assessment, which has been presented at IGF, Global IGF. And today, we are very happy to put together all the African countries here, particularly from Tunisia and also from Senegal. Our colleagues weren't able to access due to technical difficulty last week. So today we are having a fuller regional presentation of Africa. Now I want to give the floor to David Suter, the author, the leading project manager of the development of indicators, to unpack these indicators and also to elaborate a bit on the methodology. So David, do you like to take the floor?
Thanks, John Hong, and I shall try to be very quick and deal with the next 4 slides. So firstly, to the structure of the Rome indicators is in 5 categories. Here, the 4 Rome categories and cross-cutting category at the end. So the 4 Rome categories are rights, openness, accessibility or access for all, and multi-stakeholder participation. And then the 5 cross-cutting issues we'll deal with shortly, but they're equally important. But what I think I need to do is just say a few things about the purpose of these indicators and why there are so many of them. I think when people look at these, they do often say this is a lot of indicators, and there are 2 reasons behind that which are really important. The first is that this is not about putting together an index which enables you to compare one country against another. It's a framework to help the gathering of as much evidence as is possible about a country out of what is available within that country, so that recommendations can be made for realistic policies for that country specifically. And the evidence base for that is going to be very variable from one country to another. So many countries have really quite a limited range of material available, especially quantitative material. And the number of indicators is about providing a basis on which in any country it's possible to gather sufficient evidence to make a decent collage and to build a picture from which recommendations can be made. Second thing to say about the indicators is that as well as being in the 5 categories, they fall into 3 different types. So there are quantitative indicators, fairly obviously the numbers concerned, qualitative indicators, which are about assessments which have been made by people or particularly credible authoritative experts, academics, think tanks, and so forth. And then there are institutional indicators, which are about whether a particular legal or regulatory framework is in place. And in connection with those, I think it's important always to use common sense. So with quantitative indicators, you really need to interrogate those as to what they represent, how old they are, what questions have actually been asked, how representative the samples are that have led to them, and what the vested interests are of the people who have published them. With qualitative indicators, it's important to seek out credible sources, academics, media, think tanks, whatever they may be, but to assess their credibility and the extent to which they have a vested interest to pursue. And within institutional indicators, the key thing is to think about implementation, not just whether there's a law, but whether it's actually implemented. 2 other quick things on the indicators. So firstly, there is a set of contextual indicators. The purpose of those is, as it says, they're to provide context so that you understand the nature of the society, readers understand the nature of the society that is being discussed here. And lastly, most people who use these indicators are using the core indicator set. That's a smaller number, and that's fine. That's as it should be. But we hope that when people do that, they will also look in the broader set for specific indicators that might be relevant to their country and help to build a better picture. So secondly, the second slide, which is up on the screen at the moment, on the structure of the indicators, the 5 categories, each of those is divided into themes, and in each of those themes there are a series of questions, and the questions have indicators associated with them, which sounds like a complicated structure, but it's actually quite simple and straightforward when using it. Each of the 4 Rome categories starts with questions about policy, legal and regulatory frameworks, and then moves on to particular aspects. The 5 cross-cutting sections under category X are more standalone in that sense, but the responses to them need to reflect all of the Rome indicators as well as the specificities of, say, or gender. On the next slide is a process which has been developed by UNESCO for implementing projects to do with the IUIs, and you'll just perhaps this is a process which appears to be working pretty well in most countries that are doing them. I'd emphasize a couple of things. The start is the creation of a multi-stakeholder advisory board, and the aim of that is to avoid a particular perspective dominating the report. It's equally important for the research team to be multi-stakeholder and to have different perspectives. So thinking about this as genuinely multi-stakeholder, it shouldn't reflect a government view without civil society and private sector engagement. It shouldn't reflect a private sector view without government and civil society engagement. It shouldn't reflect a civil society view without government and private sector engagement. The purpose is not here to set a particular perspective. It's to provide an opportunity for everybody in the multi-stakeholder environment to reflect on where things stand, what the difficulties are, where there are ways forward which can on which consensus can be reached and which provide a platform for stronger adherence to the Rome principles in future. And the research for this needs to be serious and substantial and take time. At the bottom end of the far end of the process, echoing the establishment of a multi-stakeholder advisory board, is the validation workshop, which enables all stakeholders to contribute to thinking through what's been revealed by the research and the best ways forward. And the final slide I'll talk to is the recommendation, is the report slide. This is a structure for the report which has been developed and which, if UNESCO is to publish reports that are relatively comparable with one another, they need really to follow the same sort of structure. So this structure has been used in a number of cases already, and you'll see models from that from Brazil and Kenya, which are already published online, and Thailand, which I think is about to be published online. And there's also one in, those three are in English. There's also one in French, which is, I think, Benin. Am I right, Shanghong?
Yes, yes.
Right. I'd stress in this the separation of three things. So firstly, the description of what is happening or what has happened under each of the indicators, which should be a neutral description. It's not the place for commentary. The commentary should then come in the analysis section, which can be within each category or generally, ideally both. And then the recommendations that should stem from the analysis should be practical, not aspirational. So we're looking for things that can actually be done in the real circumstances that there are within the country now, rather than things that it would be nice to see happen if ideal circumstances were in place. So it's real practical ways forward that arise from the research that's been done that leads to stronger adherence to the Rome principles. So thanks, Shanghong. I'll pass back to you.
Thank you, David, for such a clear guide on the entire assessment. I just following what you're saying that now we are having 21 countries progressing. Just finished, we have actually two versions in French, which is Benin and also Senegal. Plus we have Brazil at the first, and then we have the Kenya. These two are English, but we are trying to make all versions in English eventually, because we are going to create an online platform of the indicators to allow for this data-based analytics. So basically, all the key points, key outcome will be available in many languages in the end. As you have seen that in Africa now, we are working in Benin, Senegal, Kenya, Ghana, Niger, Ethiopia. There's 6 countries, and even for the country like Benin, Senegal, Kenya, we have just completed the assessment. It's not the end of the project. We are starting to implement those recommendations. That's also one point we want to discuss with the colleagues from these countries. Just give some very visual idea about how the MAB is, as David just said, should be very inclusive. Basically, we have every country, we are really insisting they should have this very inclusive multi-stakeholder advisory board to launch the study, to get consulted. This is Sudan, this is Ghana and Germany. Validation workshop with the ending component to reach out to wider stakeholders beyond the MAB to look at the results, to particularly debate on the recommendations, whether they are really relevant and anything missing. That's what we have done it in Paraguay, in Benin, and also this one is in Kenya. Another resource that since I know that in Africa, many countries, they are developing national digital strategy and also artificial intelligence strategy. We are providing a policy study about how to implement Rome principles to guide the AI policies as a complementary material to the indicators. So that's the slide for you to access through also many languages. We just launched the IGF Dynamic Coalition of Internet Universality Indicators. We are now calling for all the African stakeholders, all of you, to join this coalition, whether you are from governments, where you are from civil society, academia, private. We need to create a huge network to push forward the entire process and also implementation. As I mentioned, to support the work of the Dynamic Coalition and also UNESCO entire support of the policy indicators. We are creating an online policy observatory, including the IUI and also the media development indicator, journalism safety indicator, etc. If you have been working with UNESCO before, you know we have a bunch of the indicators. Now we want to put them together in one platform, so you can search by countries, you can search by indicators to know exactly what kind of assessment evidence have been found in certain country for a certain time period to identify your interventions. These are some useful resources. If you want to join our Dynamic Coalition, you click this link. We also have a share folder for those countries who are interested to do the national assessment. For those other African countries, if you are interested, please contact me. We are able to provide you, David and I are able to also engage and meet with you to provide the entire one-to-one practical guide. Again, we have many website resources for you to contact us. So the aim of today's meeting, one is to present how UNESCO has implemented indicators in African continent in 6 countries, how the internet in Africa. Secondly, I want to African countries to express more interest from more countries to do more assessment in this vibrant continent and join our Dynamic Coalition. So I'm happy to go to our first speaker from Tunisia, Madame Karima Mahmoudi. She's representing the Instance Nationale Telecommunication of Tunisia. So from ENTT, you and your organization has been our long-term partner to conduct the IUI assessment since the very beginning, actually. I recall we launched it in the RISECon last year. So Karima, would you like to present the outcome in your country?
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for this. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this opportunity to present the Tunisian experience in the assessment of the Internet Universality Indicators. Let me please share my screen.
Yes.
The presentation I have. Yes, thank you. So,
yeah, we see it.
Yeah, thank you. So, in fact, we are currently in the process of reviewing the report relating to this study. We are in this report. So it is to highlight that this report presents the results of the pilot implementation of the UNESCO framework of Internet Universality Indicator in Tunisia. The report was completed by an independent consultant in collaboration with the Tunisian National Telecom Regulators from mid-2019 until September 2020. It contained all the 109 core indicator set proposed by the UNESCO. You know that the framework of Internet Universality consists of 303 indicators, of which 109 core are ones. Allow me first of all to present to you the methodology followed for the establishment of this report. Stakeholders involved in this report are UNESCO as framing and provision of indicators, National Telecom Regulator as main national organizer, and we have government stakeholders, ministry, and independent oversight bodies, and independent technical bodies, administrative bodies as data provision. And we have also the UNESCO consultant, which the role is the application of indicators and assessment. The process to establish this, establishment of this report is the following. So we are starting with collecting data. So finding the data that is already existent, draft the research plan that we are based on data available and to identify the needed of stakeholders. So then collect missing data. So we are to arrange consultation and collect specific target data. Unify and streamline the ensure availability of all indicators data. So apply the indicator work on section of report. Executive analysis, solidify application and arrive to articulate conclusion. Prepare first draft. This is we are in this level and finalize the report. We are in the step of reviewing and then to finish all this work. In order to succeed in the process of collecting data and understanding the state of affairs, we are organizing a consultative meeting with the Ministry of Communication and Digital Economy, e-government unit at head of government, Ministry of Women and Family Affairs, Ministry of Interior, National Syndicates of Tunisian Journalists, Data Protection Authority, and several other stakeholders. We are also arranging workshop on perception indicators with operators, civil society, representative of ministry, etc. The challenge encountered during the data collection phase are the following. We are facing some challenge: sensitive data, the data and interception of national security issues, the tardiness in data request via meeting may not be submitted in timely way. Survey needs, some indicators need to survey data, especially for the perception. Policy in development, so you know that some indicators data on policy that are still under development, and evidence of effectiveness. So oftentimes evidence of effectiveness needs a lot more data and you need auto surveying, etc. The main missing data that we know that we were enabled to collect about 20% of the 109 indicators. The main missing indicators most are related to non-technical aspect of the study. For example, indicators about perception, indicators about security issues, and indicators about intersection between activity, example, relationship between internet accessibility and gender, or employment and broadband access. So after we are collecting data and we are preparing the first draft of the report, please allow me to present you the main preliminary remarks and challenge relating to each indicators in the following slides. Note that I will present in each slide the main conclusion and the parameter on which we will act. So for the first parameter, the first indicator is rights. Note that the Tunisian uprising of 2010 and 11 have greatly shifted the rights landscape in Tunisia from a repressive regime that engaged in online censorship and widespread mass surveillance. The country now enjoys relative openness. This is the main conclusion. The Tunisian constitution provides several guarantees such as the right to freedom of experience, the right to access information, and the right to privacy. The main issues for these indicators that the lack of a constitutional court it is still established. The law for protection of personal data of 2004 should be reformed to provide adequate safeguard and guarantee for personal data protection. And the access to information law has been placed in March 2016. However, the law remains mystified for much of civil society and the general public. For the second indicators, openness. With regards to openness of the internet and innovation online, the legal and the regulatory framework in Tunisia is generally conducted for innovation. There are specific laws in the area of e-commerce, privacy, and digital signature. The main issues for these indicators that the central bank regulation on online payment should be revisited to facilitate innovation and allow sellers to showcase their products outside of the country's broad borders. And then the second issue, access to information regulation and open government initiative. For the third indicators, accessibility to all. So application of the universal access strategy is currently at the level of 90%. Data shows that policies that have been developed and are implemented by the national telecommunication regulator entity are fairly regular and continuous, while there are no major difference between access to the internet in rural versus non-rural communities. Data show that the cost of access remain prohibitive for some. So the main issues is accessibility for the disabilities. This is the main issues for these indicators. The fourth one, multi-stakeholders participation. So we know that Tunisian civil society represents in a rich and diverse ecosystem. No-profit organizations as well as business are very active in the study and discussion of internet-related policy and project. But the main issues for this indicators that the Tunisian government should actively work to compose a multi-stakeholder, multi-sectoral committee to coordinate and integrate internet service initiative across the government and the private sector. The last indicator, the cross-cutting indicators, the main conclusion or remark that Tunisia does not currently have a monitoring or reporting mechanism for the experience of users, especially from vulnerable groups such as children and women online. Evidence of women reporting abuse online does exist, but there is no publicly available data that could be used to hurt the abuse of women online. Civil society groups and the Ministry of Women currently offer service for users to report abuse online, and in some cases, certain non-profit organizations can interfere and work with the private company to stop this abuse. In general, Tunisia has a very strong violence against women law. In addition to physical violence, the law organizes other forms of violence against women and girls, including economic, sexual, political, and psychological issues. Its applicability, however, to the online sphere remain difficult due to the inefficiency within the judiciary and its lack of capacity in understanding online violence and abuse. Thank you very much. I finish my presentation, and if I will leave you in 15 minutes because I have another engagement. Thank you. I didn't hear you.
Sorry. I forgot to unmute myself. Thank you, Karima, for such a comprehensive presentation. Yes, please stay with us for another 15 minutes. David Suter and we have finally giving some review to the Tunisia report. We want to work further with you to finalize it and try to organize a validation workshop in Tunisia. And so basically, it's really a very good example for the countries also in Arab states to refer to. I just thought that since Karima is leaving us in 15 minutes, although we have reserved time for the question and answers in the end, but I'd like to open the floor now for a few minutes if anyone has a quick questions to Karima regarding the IUI assessment in Tunisia particular. Please, please just raise your hand or put your question in the chat. Well, if I don't have seen any others now, may I raise a question to you, Karima? As David Suter and I have assessed that it seems that in the MAB, there are very few stakeholders from private sector involved in the process. I wonder if that's the case. And also in terms of missing data, how are you going to tackle the data missing problem in the future?
So we are still trying to have this data from the different stakeholders, and we are currently how to say, we are holding a workshop on perception and with different stakeholders.
Okay.
And then to resolve this problem of data and for missing data, I know that I think that we have two solutions. The first one is to ask this information from the civil society, if you can have this information, or to do survey to have the possibility to have this information, and perhaps to hold some workshop with different, and to invite different stakeholders to take their point of views at this workshop, and to have the possibility to deal with the different issues, and to complete the missing data. But otherwise, I didn't know how to have this information, because for the problem of asymmetric information, and they take a lot of time to give us the information. There is another problem that the private sector or the public sector didn't understand the objective of these studies, and there is some private or public how to say, they have reticence about giving information to be not compared to other country or something like this. That's the problem, and I think that workshop and survey can resolve this problem.
Okay, thank you, Karima. I don't see any other further questions. I'm sure that we'll have a one-to-one meeting with Karima on.
Siangong, I had a question.
Yes, Doris, please.
I just wanted to ask Karima whether the people who manage the top-level domain in Tunisia, whether they're collecting any information, and whether she sees any role for them as we go forward. The .tn, who manages it? What kind of information are they collecting?
Sorry, I didn't hear you. Can you please repeat the question, please?
The top-level domain in Tunisia is .tn.
Yes.
Who manages it? Which institution is managing .tn? What
Okay.
kind of information are they gathering? And what role do you see for them as we go forward?
Yes, this, who governs this? This is the Regulatory Authority of Telecommunication, and that have this mission, and we delegate this to a public institution in charge of internet, the ITE, and this is, we have convention between each other, and they where we put the different rule to follow by the different institution that will ask for the domain .tn.
Okay, thank you. Given the time limit, I want to thank you, Karima, for your excellent responses. I'm sure that we are going to have a further meeting with you to finalize the Tunisia assessment. But what you have shared is very valuable to inform other countries. As I just briefly put in the chat, that for those other countries who wanted to conduct the IUI assessment in your country, or you want to join our dynamic coalition, just write to me and copy my colleague Karen. and we are going to respond to you depending on your national context. But as Dorothy correctly said in the chat, it's not a matter of quantification. Every country is quantified. Every country is encouraged to do this voluntary assessment, as the IPDC resolution said. That's why we are encouraging all the countries to do it. Simply want to make sure the multi-stakeholder process is correctly in place. So the first step is to really to consult with your national stakeholders, like Tunisia did, to have a sort of consensus reached within your country, your key ministries in charge of the ICT policies, your key private sectors, your key civil society. You also perceive there's a need, there's a relevance for your country to do the assessment, then we can kick it off. And I also saw a quick question from Henrietta about the budget side. So far, I think that for African country, average budget is from 25,000 US dollar to 35,000 US dollar, depending on the size. The bulk budget is used to commission researchers, which cost maybe 20 to 30,000 US dollar. And then you need to have a few thousand to organize the validation workshops. That's a two major cost. So just for your consideration. And now I'm moving to my second speaker, Madame Grace Gitanga, representing KICTNet, to present the IUI assessment in Kenya. Hi, Grace.
Hi, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. Now for Kenya, I just want to say that, just like in line on what David presented, we conducted this study. I think it took us around 6 months to do it. So we went through the processes. We established a multi-stakeholder advisory board. That was our first process. And then we built a collaborative research team. So we had for each indicator a lead researcher and an assistant researcher. So we had 10 researchers. And then we developed the research action plan. We gathered the data, we analyzed, and we wrote the reports. And then we were also able to organize a national validation multi-stakeholder workshop. And have continued to conduct related advocacy activities through presenting in forums that we think that can be done. And then, of course, we are going through the impact assessment. And one of the things we did is that during the Kenya IGF, which was held on October 29th, we were still able to speak about this research and let people know, what the Kenya team had done. But most important, what we noted is that the ROM indicators are actually going to be a topic of discussion for a long time, because they form the broad areas for internet governance debates. And so, for example, for our Kenya IGF, we took the global themes such as data and inclusion and security, and we were still able to base our discussions and provide concrete information, suggestions, and debates drawn from this research. Of course, we had challenges, for example, in accessing certain data, or even in accessing data. For example, there's data that is available from the regulator or from the service providers. But then we interrogated that data and we realized that one, the numbers were given as broad, but we were able then to ask for specific numbers. That data is not disaggregated, so it doesn't show like the number of women who use mobile phones versus the number of men. We were also able to, to interrogate and realize that even as they say Kenya has over 30 million mobile, subscriptions, we didn't exactly get who uses what providers and how many people, for example, own 3 SIM cards. So this study was very, was actually very good. And then, of course, when we were starting, we didn't realize that the task would be, complicated and time intensive. And so, later towards the end, we really had to put in, a lot of time, trying also to convene, we had multiple groups. We had the group of researchers, we had our MAB that we consistently needed to update on what was happening and to get their views. And out of that, I think in terms of the findings, there were several findings that we continue to look into and to continue to see how, some will be implemented. Some are already we're already starting to formulate proposals on how to, to continue working on that. And we hope that we are going to be successful. But in terms of the findings, one of the key things we found in terms of rights is that our laws and policies provide widely for human rights. Kenya has a very progressive Bill of Rights. However, the challenge has been in terms of implementation of key policies and legislation. So yes, they are very good on paper, but when it comes to implementation, there's a challenge. Key findings on some of the findings on openness is that yes, access to information, especially government information, is still not a very is not so free as yet, and even as it is provided for in the Constitution. And we actually lack standards, and we have a weak legislation that then provides for how citizens can access information. In terms of accessibility, the cost of internet, devices, access to networks and language, there are still barriers, especially to the people in the rural areas. And then on multi-stakeholder, we realize that this has been going on in this country even before the Kenya Constitution 2010 was reviewed to provide for, to make it, it has made it a constitutional requirement for anyone making public policy to engage with those that they are working with. So we realized that had been going on. However, there's still a challenge of weak engagement because, we don't have, we lack a legislative framework and standards of how to engage in that process of engagement. And then in terms of cross-cutting issues, of course, there is the issue of implementation of policies and laws, and capacity of relevant institutions to follow on that is still one of the challenges. So as you can see, we still have a lot of work to do in terms of implementation of policies and laws. There's still a lot of work to do in terms of enhancing of institutional capacities, in terms of building public awareness, in terms of bridging the digital divide, and of course, in terms of extensive and diverse data collection. Now, so it was actually a very good exercise because the study provides a lot of data in actually one publication has a lot of rich data that can be used by anyone, especially who wants to work in policy areas. It's also a point of reference for us to advocate for implementation of policies and laws. It's also a good point of reference to show that there's need to enhance institutional capacities, or especially of institutions that are charged with making sure that we enforce what is in our constitution or in what some of our laws stipulate. So for us, it was a groundbreaking study, and we are very happy as Internet to have done that. We think they are very valuable lessons that we learned. One is that it is possible to actually conduct collaborative researches. You know, we had 10 researchers. We had the multi-stakeholder advisory board that would also give us views. We got other people from Internet list to also give us their views. And so we realized it was actually very, very possible to get all these people converged and provide useful information and guidance. And then we also realized that studies of this nature are very important because, one, they provide an opportunity to interrogate the data that is already available. And secondly, they act also as an evaluation of where things are at. They also, you know, allowed us to go into introspection and, you know, like provide a feeling of the temperature of where things are at. And I think, you know, what has happened, what needs to happen, and the gaps that are already there. Because, you know, for example, if we had not sat down to actually analyze all the information, we would still be at a point where we think that we are doing very well in terms of mobile uptake, in terms of internet uptake, but there are still gaps that we could work on and improve things. So as, again, a recommendation to this group and to UNESCO is that such kind of studies need to be a regular exercise for, I guess, all countries, because they provide a very clear picture. And I want to end there.
Thank you. Thank you. Kenya definitely be a country we are going to work further in the implementation phase. Since you're the first group of countries finishing the study, we hope have more success stories from your implementing so many policy recommendations. Now I'm introducing my next speaker, Elvis Michael Camus, to represent the project in Senegal. Michael, do you like to try your PPT again? And also, we are having a very tight time schedule. Please also limit your presentation, maybe shorten a little bit to 8 minutes. Michael, could you?
Yeah, are you getting me?
Yes, we are getting you.
Yeah, I'll just share my presentation as I'm having
try
a hard
again.
time. Okay, let me try again. Oh, it says that only the host can share in this meeting. So.
Okay, okay. So Karen, have you received the PPT?
Yes. But,
okay, could you try to share it?
I'm not the host, so I don't think I can host it.
Okay, as we are short in time, I'll therefore.
No, 1 second. Let me go to my email box. Okay, wait. I'm having it. Okay, so let me see if I can show it. So it's a PPT, right? Like this. It's good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, you just let me know when you want me to move.
Yeah, I want to start from the beginning, and then we'll go very quick. Thank you very much for inviting me to make this short presentation. Distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen, the experts. It's my pleasure to present to you very briefly the Senegal report on the Internet Universality Indicators. I do not want to, because I know that the presenters before me shared with you the process of the elaboration of the report with text review, the multi-stakeholders advisory board, and so on. All that what we follow in Senegal in implementing, in preparing this report. Next slide. I'll start by just giving you an overview of some statistics related to Senegal in terms of population. The mobile connection, we have almost 18 million mobile device in the country, and also internet user is about almost 50% of the population. And in terms of social media, they have like 21% of the population using social media. Next slide, and we can go quickly over the two. Next slide, and then in terms of internet coverage, we can, yes, here is the reality in Senegal in 2017. Senegal is covered mainly by 2G and 3G technology in terms of mobile technology. And you can see that the east of the country, where there is the level of coverage is very weak compared to the west, where there is a greater size of population, there is great density of the population in the west. Next slide. Let's speak now about our IUI report of Senegal. The IUI report of Senegal did not cover all the indicators of the IUI. We covered just a set of the indicators, the core indicators, and then a subset of the remaining indicators. And so in terms of right, we have 33% of the indicators, represented 33% of the indicators that we covered. So when we look at the target group of the indicators that we choose to collect in Senegal, most indicators were targeting the government. And after that, we have also the private sector and a few for the civil society organization. Next slide. As I say, we covered all the core indicators and a subset of the non-core indicators. So only 52 of the non-core indicators were covered in Senegal. And in terms of collecting data, as you know, the process of IUI is not about going out and creating new data. It's collecting available data out there and use them to inform the indicators. So in Senegal, we found that there are many, for many indicators, it was difficult to have the information. So only 81% of the indicator were actually provided with the data. The remaining 90%, there was no data for them. Next. Let's move now to key finding of the IUI report in Senegal. In relation with the right principle of the wrong X of the IUI, we found that the Senegal has ratified a set of adhere to many international instruments, and in Senegal there is such a willingness to show that they want to abide by international standard. There is this commitment at the highest level within the country. So most of the international instruments that Senegal has actually signed, and also its implementing has created a mechanism to implement those international instruments. However, we also find that there is within all the instruments available in the country, there is no mention of when it's come to law of offline or online application of such law. The exception being related to the law on cyber security. We also found that there is a challenge for the government to actually enforce all the international instruments that they have embraced. They have embraced too many international instruments, but in terms of enforcing those instruments, there is room for improvement in Senegal. Regarding openness, we found that actually the government is lacking real commitment, it's a strong commitment to promote open solutions, even though it has decided to set up a platform for open data in line with the Open Government Initiative. So next slide. I know that. When it comes to access to all, the country is now implementing a universal access policy. Even at the end of this week, they will be organizing a national forum to discuss how they can improve the policy. Also, we found that there is no policy on local languages online to ensure content accessibility for persons with disabilities as well. There is also disparity of internet use. We found that between women and men, more men have access to internet than women. And in general, there is this view that the cost of internet access is high in the country. Particularly, and the quality also of internet there is a disparity between those living in cities and those living in the region, as you saw in the graph that the quality of internet is better in the west of the region, where there is a higher density of the population than the east of the region. There is also an internet governance forum in the country that's very active. They organize session every year, and it's open to all stakeholders, including the government, and it's the Internet Society organization who's leading the process with the Ministry of Digital Economy. Next slide. Cross-cutting team issues, we found that there are many ongoing initiatives in the country when it comes to ICT in education or promoting digital technology in the priority sectors of the economy. There are a bunch of initiatives supported either by the government itself or by private organizations, including also UN system here in Senegal. And also, among those initiatives, there is one related to the integration of ICT in schools and universities. And in that, the government has also established this digital university, the virtual university of Senegal. That's very active now. There is also this national cybersecurity strategy that is actually under implementation in the country. Next. In terms of recommendation, there are some interesting recommendation. In Senegal, they are yet to adopt the access to information bill, and there is in the process. We organized last week a session with the Ministry of Communication and the Ministry of Justice, which is in charge of good governance as well, to discuss on the way forward in implementing, in accelerating the process of adopting the law. Also, the participant in the process recommended the use of technology to made available to public information that institutions are guardian of. So this is something I think important. What else? I think we can also highlight the fact that they recommended the better control, that the government should improve the control of access by foreign companies and integrators of technology to private data of the population in order to ensure digital sovereignty and preserve the right to privacy. We can move to the next one. They also recommended to strengthen the national policy on copyright and intellectual property right, to promote open licenses in order to, in the production and use of open educational resources. This was there was a very strong discussion around this when they were identifying some of the shortcomings related to why there is not an improved adoption of open educational resources in the country, and that's why they were of the view that there should be a review of the national policy on copyright and intellectual property rights. They also recommended to formulate a policy and strategy to promote the development of and use of open solutions with an emphasis on open educational resources. We can move to next as we do not have that much time. In access to all, they recommended that access to internet should be recognized as a constitutional right in the country. They also encourage defining and enforcing guidelines to encourage the production and online availability of content of public interest in national languages. So there is this need in the country because of many people speaking local languages and the local language being using even in the National Assembly. There was this discussion that even the website of the public, the government website should find a way to integrate content in local languages. We can move to the next one. They also, in terms of multi-stakeholder participation, they recommended that the government should formalize the current practice of consultation. In fact, actually in the country, it's up to the government to a department, a ministry, to decide how to conduct the public consultation, even offline and online. And what they want that in order to ensure that there is the consultation of the public is formalized, they want the government to actually take action to establish the rules that should govern such open consultation, either offline or online. They also recommended to strengthen the material and human resources of the National Digital Observatory so that they can provide the relevant information to measure the evolution of the digital sector. And this is a key point here on the National Digital Observatory. The government, following this report, has decided to establish and strengthen that digital observatory. And they have also benefited from the IPDC support to strengthen the development of the National Digital Observatory. And the project is now on the way. And we hope that by the end, they will be able to regularly provide, collect and make available information based on the IUI. That's what Next will be on the cross-cutting. They asked to institutionalize the ICT surveys in the national strategy for the development of statistics, because as we see in the beginning, we have during the data collection process, there are many indicators for which it was not possible to have the data. By institutionalizing the ICT surveys, they are of the view that it will be able for the government will be able to actually have the data for all the the IUI indicators, including other ICT-related indicators. That's what I can say regarding the IUI report of Senegal. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Elvis, Michael. Thank you for share. It's also my first time to hear such a resourceful and well thought out presentation from Senegal. I'm afraid we are having so little time left. May I check with our IGF host, how many minutes can we delay the session after 12:30? Okay, no one respond to me. Okay, let's just speed up. We have 2 more speakers. I really hope you could limit your presentation to 8 minutes if possible, and then we might have on a few minutes for discussion. So next speaker is Professor Alan Kindu to represent actually 2 countries, Benin and also Niger. Hi, hello.
Okay.
Yes. You know, I'm very okay. I see the session is up to end. Okay.
The session has to end 5 minutes after the time it was planned, please.
Is there any possibility to just extend a few minutes more?
I said you can extend it 5 to 10 minutes maximum.
Okay. Maybe 10 minutes more. Okay.
Maximum, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Professor Kindu, please go ahead with your presentation. I'm just want to apologize because you know, every country they have been conducting assessment for 1 or 2 years, tedious process, and now we have to compact so many findings in 10 minutes. It's really unfair. But Professor Kindu, I believe you will do a job. Go ahead.
Ok, merci beaucoup. Je vais parler en français. Je n'arrive pas à faire le partage d'écran, je n'ai plus le droit, mais je vous ai envoyé le PowerPoint. Si vous pouvez.
Oui, bien sûr. Tu ne peux pas partager votre écran si tu peux.
Non, je n'ai pas les droits.
Yes, you are. You should have it. Can I ask the technical support? Can you grant Professor Kindu to share his screen and share the presentation? Hello, sir. I think it's it should be okay because other speakers can share their screen. I believe Professor Kindu can do the same. Otherwise, you also send me now in case. But I recall that we tried it. You made it right at the beginning.
Oui, au départ ça marchait, mais là.
Maintenant non. Ok,
non,
donc.
L'animateur a désactivé le partage d'écran par les participants. Donc, vous pouvez aller sur. Dans l'onglet, vous pouvez activer le partage d'écran, mais sans ça, je ne peux pas y accéder. Bon.
Donc, tu peux m'envoyer par email quand même.
Oui, c'est déjà fait.
C'est déjà fait. Pourquoi je n'ai pas reçu? Je n'ai pas reçu.
S'il vous plaît, professeur.
Oui.
Vous êtes co-animateur, donc techniquement, vous pouvez partager directement votre écran pour qu'il soit visible par tout le monde.
J'ai le message, l'animateur a désactivé le partage d'écran.
Ah bon? Oui, j'ai reçu votre email. Ok, je peux partager maintenant.
D'accord.
Ok. On fait comme ça. Ça va?
Oui, ça va.
OK, très bien. Allez-y.
Très bien. Vous pouvez appuyer sur diaporama de façon à ce que ça,
oui, je suis en train de faire.
Présente,
OK.
Voilà, très bien. OK.
Merci,
Merci beaucoup. Je vais essayer de faire très vite pour dire que le travail...
Ça va, ce n'est pas juste vous présenter deux pays, donc juste finir comme vous voulez, s'il vous plaît.
Oui, donc le travail a été mené, le travail notamment sur le Bénin a été mené conformément donc aux directives de l'UNESCO avec un comité consultatif paritaire, donc égalité hommes et femmes, nous avons tenu à cela et nous avons travaillé également sur pas la totalité des indicateurs, mais nous sommes focalisés sur les 109 principaux indicateurs de l'universalité de l'Internet. Donc, nous sommes appuyés sur une équipe de terrain, des collègues qui sont sur place, qui sont également très avisés dans le domaine du numérique et des enquêtes de terrain. Donc, nous avons commencé par faire une recherche documentaire et ensuite des enquêtes de terrain, comme je l'ai dit tout à l'heure, qui ont permis de consolider les résultats que nous avons obtenus. Une des difficultés a été de nous entendre sur les résultats parce que au niveau des bases de données, les résultats peuvent être différents et donc nous avons dû beaucoup discuter avec les collègues notamment de l'NSAE, de service de statistique du Bénin, pour pouvoir nous mettre d'accord sur les données et garder les données essentielles et les données sur lesquelles on était d'accord. Donc, notre enquête de terrain a mobilisé aussi bien les organisations non gouvernementales internationales, les organisations locales, les directions des différents ministères et les entreprises. Et nous avons eu vraiment la chance d'être bien accompagnés par le gouvernement en place. Et donc, notre travail a donné un certain nombre de données que vous pouvez voir. Alors, je n'ai pas mis la totalité des résultats. Oui, vous pouvez avancer. Vous pouvez passer. Oui, d'accord. OK. Donc, je n'ai pas mis la totalité des résultats que nous avons obtenus. On a quelques chiffres clés sur les TIC que vous pouvez trouver, sur les questions d'abordabilité de Internet, le classement du Bénin par rapport aux autres pays. Donc là, j'ai mis très rapidement quelques informations en sachant que le dossier que nous avons déposé fait près de 200 pages. Donc, vous pouvez le lire tranquillement pour aller un petit peu au fond de ces questions-là. Donc, cette étude a donné des résultats donc, sur le cadre juridique du pays, avec des efforts qui ont été faits en termes d'ouverture, que nous avons bien souligné, d'accessibilité, de partage multi-acteurs, mais aussi les défis qui restent à relever et qui nous ont amenés à faire plus d'une trentaine de recommandations qui sont en train d'être appliquées par les acteurs du numérique actuellement. Est-ce que vous pouvez avancer sur le slide suivant? Voilà, donc parmi les résultats que nous avons mis en avant, il y a le fait que on est dans un pays, comme d'ailleurs dans tous les pays africains et les pays de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, une question de la cybercriminalité qui est vraiment très, très importante et sur laquelle tous les gouvernements sont engagés. Donc cette question a été vraiment mis en avant et discuté et on a attiré l'attention de tout le monde sur la nécessité effectivement de prolonger le travail qui est fait sur la lutte, en termes de la lutte contre la cybercriminalité et souligner aussi les avancées qui ont été réalisées dans ce domaine. Une autre question qui est un défi majeur aussi, qui est assez partagé, c'est la disparité qu'on peut trouver dans l'accessibilité de l'Internet entre le milieu rural et le milieu urbain, qui est également vraiment une priorité. Et nous avons eu la chance de tomber sur un pays où il y a également l'agence béninoise de service universel qui est assez orienté sur les indicateurs universels de l'UNESCO, parce qu'ils partagent ces préoccupations et qui ont commencé également à faire un travail de terrain, mais il reste que la disparité reste importante et le travail reste également colossal. Et il y a aussi donc la question des personnes à besoins spécifiques qui ne sont généralement pas prises en compte. Et nous avons eu la chance dans notre comité consultatif d'avoir 2 personnes, notamment personnes de l'Association des aveugles, qui ont attiré notre attention sur leurs conditions, sur les problèmes qu'ils rencontrent dans l'accessibilité à Internet, de façon à ce que nous puissions les prendre en compte. Et ce travail a été fait. Et notre constat également, c'est le fait que nous sommes là au Bénin, dans un pays où il y a une production culturelle importante, avec aussi bien au niveau de l'artisanat, mais aussi il y a des langues qui sont également connues, qui sont importantes, mais au niveau d'Internet, on ne trouve pas, on a l'impression qu'il n'y a pas vraiment d'engagement pour mettre en avant cette diversité culturelle, parce que la plupart des productions sont en langue française. C'est la langue officielle, bien entendu, mais on a pensé qu'il était important de mettre l'accent sur le développement des contenus locaux, mais aussi des contenus qui reflètent la culture locale. Donc, tous ces éléments ont été pris en compte et la grande satisfaction, c'est de se rendre compte que un certain nombre de recommandations que nous avons évoquées sont en train d'être réalisées. Vous pouvez passer au slide suivant, s'il vous plaît. Voilà, donc, notamment, j'ai évoqué tout à l'heure l'agence du service universel du Bénin qui travaille qui a les mêmes orientations que l'UNESCO et qui travaille déjà depuis longtemps sur cet indicateur. Et nous avons proposé également de mettre en place, de réfléchir et de mettre en place une stratégie sur l'intelligence artificielle, une stratégie nationale. Et ce travail a déjà commencé puisqu'un appel d'offres a été déjà lancé. Au niveau des ouvertures, des données ouvertes, il y a également un travail qui a commencé à être fait. Et aussi la disparité que j'ai évoquée tout à l'heure entre les régions rurales et les régions urbaines. Là également, il y a une étude qui est menée de façon à pouvoir bien identifier les endroits où il n'y a pas accessibilité d'Internet et faire en sorte que cela puisse être arrangé. Donc voilà en gros les quelques résultats qu'on a trouvés. Vous pouvez avancer au slide suivant pour que j'aille très vite. Oui, aussi ce qui est important et ce qui nous a permis d'aller vite aussi, c'est que au niveau du Bénin, on avait fait dès le départ, en tout cas, on avait préconisé la mise en place d'un comité consultatif pour faire en sorte que le travail en question ne reste pas sans application. Et donc, on a mis en place un comité consultatif qui continue à suivre les recommandations en question et qui continue à faire en sorte que les recommandations soient appliquées. On se réunit et on doit faire en fait une évaluation tous les 2 ans. Et je profite du fait que j'ai le micro d'encourager l'Union africaine. Je ne sais pas si on a des représentants de l'Union africaine qui nous écoutent, pour qu'ils s'associent à cette initiative de l'UNESCO pour accompagner au mieux les pays africains et de façon à pouvoir mutualiser les efforts dans la réalisation de ces objectifs. Voilà en gros ce que je peux dire sur le Bénin. Ce qui nous a aussi aidé, que je pouvais souligner aussi, c'est le fait que dès le départ, nous avons tenu à médiatiser cette opération de façon à ce que tout le public soit associé au travail. Donc, ça passe par la communication numérique, on n'a pas hésité de mettre les moyens là-dessus, mais ça passe aussi par la mobilisation des politiques, de façon à ce qu'ils organisent des rendez-vous avec les journalistes pour pouvoir parler de ce travail et de faire en sorte que la population puisse s'approprier aussi bien de la réflexion, mais aussi des trouvailles qui ont été faites. On peut avancer, s'il vous plaît? On peut passer au slide suivant. Voilà, donc là, c'est juste une image hein, de la façon dont le comité consultatif a travaillé. C'est un comité consultatif qui est assez nombreux et paritaire également et qui reflète en fait l'écosystème du numérique béninois. Et c'est ça qui a fait en sorte qu'on puisse aller très vite et avoir les résultats dont on avait besoin. Bon, donc je vais terminer très rapidement avec le Niger, puisqu'après ce travail qui a été fait sur le Bénin, il nous reste donc à travailler. Nous avons engagé le même travail au Niger. Et donc, au niveau du Niger, il y a un comité consultatif qu'on est en train de mettre en place, mais on a une équipe déjà de 4 personnes qui travaillent sur la collecte des données en ligne, dans les bases de données. La difficulté que nous rencontrons, c'est que le Bénin, le Niger est actuellement en période électorale et ça va durer peut-être jusqu'au mois de février. Et généralement, en période électorale, les administrations sont paralysées et on a du mal à mener les enquêtes de terrain. Donc, nous attendons à ce que tout cela soit stabilisé pour aller un petit peu plus loin dans ce travail sur le Niger. Je vous remercie pour votre écoute.
Thank you, Professor, for making this mission excellently. And every time I heard something new progress from your side, particularly it's exciting that Benin will do a follow-up assessment in 2 years. That should be a really good practice can duplicate in other countries. So now I'm moving to my last but not least speaker from Ghana, Madame Dorothy Gordon. She is also carrying several hats as for UNESCO, also for her country. Could you please to present your roles and also work related to the IUI assessment in Tunisia? No, not in Ghana. Sorry.
Thank you, everyone, and good afternoon, or I think most people it will be good afternoon in Africa. I'll be very brief because actually we've run out of time. I want to stress the fact that this exercise of Internet Universality Indicators is extremely important in the situation we find ourselves in, where countries have been scrambling to put their services online, to put education online, to manage their health sector, everything online, and yet we don't understand well enough where the gaps are. And so for me, there's a great value in this, in that it allows stakeholders within the national environment to engage around the issues, because if we don't understand where we are now, we will not understand how we will get to where we want to be, and definitely we will not understand the impact of technology on our societies. So briefly, in Ghana, we have assembled a very representative map. All is well there. And then COVID struck and we had a lot of issues in terms of being able to do our tender to launch the RFP and to find a group that would be qualified and diverse enough to do the research. And so the lesson that I have learned is that as my colleague who spoke before me said, we really need some very clear direction at the level of the ECA and the African Union in terms of having real observatories on the ground to gather the information we need and to encourage more research, both within academia and within civil society, as well as private sector, more research to understand what's going on. And so once we have that, I believe we will be able to assess the impact. Let me comment just a little bit on Rome, even though our assessment is not complete. We know that the laws in Ghana are quite robust. Implementation of laws is always a challenge. Then when we look at the citizens' perception of their rights, citizens very often don't have a deep enough understanding. And that's why I said at the beginning that engagement is key. But you can't engage around an issue if you have no background on the issue. So we need to do far more work in terms of communicating with our population, with our citizens. What are the issues? And I want to single out, I was happy to see many African women on this panel, but we know that there are very serious gender issues. And so we need to reach out to women and make sure that they understand these issues. Open. A lot of inconsistency around the area of open. We say we want it, but we are not making the practical steps to get it to happen. And this is really worrying as we see this new scramble to take over our education space using proprietary systems that export the data of our children. We need to wake up. We need to have a very clear policy on how African data is managed. I think much has already been said about access. I'm not going to repeat it because we've run out of time, and multi-stakeholderism. Everything that we have been working on, and particularly Siang Hong, Guy Berger and the team at UNESCO, everything you've been working on in terms of the Internet Universality Indicators, it is as if 2020 is showing exactly how important this is. So there was a question in the chat about who can get involved. Everybody should get involved. It doesn't matter what resources you have right now. What really matters is where you will be 5 years from now. We want to be in a better place. So thank you very much with those few words.
Thank you, Dorothy. You are the best advocate of Internet Universality Rome principles. I fully agree with every word you have just said. Everybody has a shared responsibility in advancing Rome principles at all levels through their own communities. It's such a huge challenge. We need such a comprehensive framework like Rome, like Internet Universality to guide the national Internet development. But today I have to say we are really closing the session because we only have a few minutes. I still like to open the floor for the last several minutes. If anyone want to raise burning questions or give some final tweet from our panelists. Otherwise,
I forgot because I was in such a rush and I had to change my presentation. I forgot to say I am the chair of UNESCO's Information for All program. And this program is dedicated to working with all stakeholders to promote a more equitable and inclusive knowledge economy. So if any of you are interested in doing projects with IFAP around this area, as you see, Siang Hong and I collaborate very well, and IFAP would stand ready to review and subject to the Bureau confirmation to support. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's completely intersectoral collaboration to implement Internet universality. We are really joining forces from all types of the sectors, institutions, not only IPDC, which is the one who has endorsed and also funded many projects, but now we're also working with IFAP, Information for All, through its chair, through its national committees to scale up the national implementation. And so really now the floor is yours. Anybody want to give a final tweet, concluding remarks? Otherwise, I have posted all the related links in the chat. All of you, our participants as well, you can access all the national reports we have just presented on our web. You are also able to write to me and Karen to join the Dynamic Coalition we are calling for everybody on your individual or on your institutional capacity. As long as you are really echoing these Rome principles, you have an interest to implement your national assessment or simply in your community, we are all welcoming this kind of initiatives. So I would just want to thank all the panelists, and also wonder, just a last call, if anybody want to give some final tweet, closing remarks. Or actually, I think that I want to thank again the African IGF Secretary, Mr. McCann Fan. Are you there? Hi, McCann. Hello, Mr. Fan. I saw your name there. I couldn't see your face. If you recall, I think I initially presented the Internet Universality Framework a few years ago in the African IGF, right? Yes. And then after a few years, now we are able to deliver 303 indicators.
Yes,
Plus
we would like to congratulate UNESCO because the first study was presented in the African IGF in Egypt. In fact, that was one of the push which made us to accept you this today here. Because we said everything started with the African IGF, and now we have the result in the African IGF. Congratulations.
And also thanks to you, without IGF as a platform, we weren't able to develop and also implement so many indicators in so many countries. So can I push you again for the next time? Could we have more time and sessions to present more countries from African assessment in the future?
Yes, we will have, because you asked for it late. That's why we didn't.
Okay, we are okay. Great.
You have even put it in the plenary sessions, but
yeah, thank you.
Yes, please.
Thank you. Your support is fully appreciated. I hope that we can deepen and widen our collaboration between UNESCO, our national IUI teams, and also African IGF Forum in the future.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Anybody else? Otherwise, I just like to conclude the session by thanking Mr. Fan and also all your team. I'm impressed by your technical team, so responsive, so quick, and even during weekend, we are able to have this excellent session in such a short time of preparation. I hope that's the start of a new phase of collaboration further with you, all the African stakeholders. We're also able to present you a report after this meeting to sketch all the African countries' assessment progress. Plus, for all the other participants, we are able to share with you the PPT and the meeting report afterwards to make sure we can have the further follow-up to this session. It's not just a session, it's really a matter of networking with the African interested stakeholders. So anybody else want to give some last tweet? Otherwise, I'm closing the session. And David, do you like to give some final comments?
Well, that's fine, Ken-Hong. It's been really interesting. Some really interesting discussions about the different countries. That's great. Thanks.
Yeah, David Suter and I, we are working closely since 3 years ago, and now we are continue to work together to support all the countries, particularly in this African continent. You know, Africa is really the continent which has already progressed in the most number of the countries of IUIs. We're really looking forward to having more countries interested in this assessment and working together with you. I'd also like to thank my colleague Karen for having made this happen in such short time, and also all the certainly all my excellent colleagues and the panelists. Although I have heard your presentation for more than one time, but every time I learn something new. Okay, so so really thanks to all of you, and we'll keep you updated. And have a good noon and afternoon.
Thank
and
you.
Also have a good lunch. Bon appétit.
Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Merci beaucoup. Au revoir.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Shannon. Goodbye.
Goodbye.